nothing that anybody else says or any research that I can do can tell me if this book is true or not, except what God tells me, the source from where it all comes in the first place.
The feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Feelings that God gives me, not that I give myself or that somebody else gives me. The feelings that God gives me, if it's true or not.
Want to do it?
I'm not a secret.
All right. We got a taker. Okay. So I'm going to be taking some notes. Where should I sit? I'll let you know.
Right there.
All right. So usually it's chest mounted. I don't know how this is going to work. I'll try to just...
Is it a camera or is
It's a GoPro. Yeah, so it sticks pretty tight on there. All right. Cool. We can kind of establish what we're going to talk about, and then I set the timer. But the timer is just to respect you guys' time, because people are kind of coming and going. I have no problem, taking as much time as you want. Okay. So, you can go pick a belief, anything you want. You just try to keep it like specific and not necessarily broad. Like, you guys are missionaries, so obviously I have an idea what you guys talk about, but if it's something broad, it's hard to like examine it necessarily. So if you were to take like a single truth claim that you're very, very confident is true, and it could be anywhere within what you believe. Just think of a truth claim that you think is like the highest your degree of confidence you have in it.
Okay.
What do you think that would be?
The Book of Mormon.
Okay.
Is that good?
So what about the Book of Mormon?
That it is a true book.
True book. Okay. So Book of Mormon is a true book. Okay. All right. Cool. I don't know why I put an eye there. Cool. What was your name?
Elder Macedonian.
All right. I have no idea how to spell that.
It says it right there.
Yeah.
Macedonian.
Macedon. Macedon.
Macedon. Macedone?
Yep.
What kind of last name is that?
It's Italian.
Italian.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So I want to get a sense of your confidence. I use a scale. You don't necessarily have to use it, but it kind of helps people gauge where they're at. 0% is I have all questions, no confidence that this is true. And 100% meaning I have all confidence, no question that it's true. And 100% meaning you cannot be mistaken about this.
Yeah.
So where would you fall on that
100%.
confidence? 100%. Okay. 100%. Cool. What is the main reason you are 100% confident?
Because it's changed who I am at the center.
Changed at the center. Okay. Okay. So you're saying you know the Book of Mormon is true, and if I'm not saying what you're saying, just let me know.
Right.
You're saying the Book of Mormon is true. You know that it's true to 100% confidence because it's changed who you are to the core. Mm-hmm. Meaning, like you read it and then like a transformation happened.
Yeah.
Okay. What if someone were to read a book and it didn't transform them from the core, let's say, would that be an indication that that book wasn't true?
No.
Okay. So can a book still be true and not change it to the core?
Yes.
Okay. Can a book be untrue and still change someone to the core?
Yeah.
Okay. So if a book can change someone to the core and still be untrue, how did you determine that this book was true?
A book can change someone from the core, still be untrue. How do I determine that this is true?
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is if a book can be an untrue book, can still actively can change someone to the core. It's possible it can still do that.
Mm-hmm.
How did you determine that your book was true? If
If
a
an
book
untrue book can still change something.
yeah.
Well, I think it's all about what it says, what it contains. You know, we talk about Christ a lot, and Christ taught parables, or things that didn't necessarily happen, that were stories that were made up, but they taught a principle, and this book teaches principles that are true, and that's how I know that that's what's changed me about this book.
Okay.
That the principles it teaches are true, and that the events that happen are also true.
Okay.
That's a central part in this, in our beliefs.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're saying it's not just that it changed you to the core; it's also that it contains principles that are true. Do you mean it's true in the sense that it happened, or it's true in the sense that they are correct in what they're saying? I guess. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Both
Okay.
events happen.
So like events
the
and
principles are true.
Gotcha. Okay. So, hypothetically speaking, and I'm not saying this is the case, hypothetically speaking, if you were to discover that the events that occurred in there did not happen, would that make you less confident that that the book was true?
I don't think so.
Okay. So, if you were to discover the events were not accurate or true, you would still be just as confident that the book was
The principles are
that
true.
yeah, okay. So if you were to discover that the principles weren't true, if you experienced something, or it doesn't really matter what it was, but if that happened where you came to the conclusion that those principles weren't actually always true or something like that, would you be less confident that the book was
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, if I found the principles weren't true, then yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's really about the principles. Okay. So give me what's the best example of a principle in the book that points to the truthfulness of the book, of the overall book? Like what is it about the principles in this book that differentiate it from other principles in other books?
I think there's a lot of history in the book. There's a lot of things about events, but it all takes it back to Christ. Christ can heal us and change us and make us better than we are by ourselves.
Okay. Is that kind of what you mean when you say it's changed you to the core?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So and just correct me if I'm not hearing you right. I really don't want to like misrepresent anything you're saying.
Of course.
You're saying that the principles of a book tell or can show that a book is true if it changes you to the core, or if is that what you're saying?
If it changes you in the right way.
Okay. So so if it changes you in the right way, then you can be confident that the book is true.
Yes.
Okay. So
That the principles are true.
what would be wrong. What would be an example of a untrue principle?
An example of an untrue principle would be
Like something, if you would read that, it would indicate that the book was not true.
I think like murder will bring you eternal happiness.
Murder will bring you eternal happiness. Okay. I guess before I go there, what would be a correct or a right principle that would indicate that the book is true on the other side?
Yeah. Humility will bring you eternal happiness.
Got it. Okay. How does the principle that humility brings you happiness relate to whether or relates to whether the book is true or not? How do those connect?
Because humility, if you can make that change in yourself, and I can't explain how people can make that change, but that's just an internal thing, becoming humble versus prideful, but that's what changes you. And so if a book teaches you to do that, and for example in this book tells events where that does happen, then it changes me, and that's how I find that the principle is true.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, can a book have a principle that humility will bring you happiness and it still be untrue?
Not the principle. If it changes you, then that's true. But the events can be untrue.
Okay. So, like, let's say we have a book over here that has this principle that if you are to be humble, or that if you are if you bring upon humility to yourself, or however it works, that would bring you happiness. If that other book had that, would you be confident that what that book contains is true?
Yeah. Unless it contains some other untrue things.
Oh, okay. So, are you saying the principle is true in
The
its
principle is the truth.
the truth of it, but everything else
suppose.
could be false?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's just say that this principle was not true, that humility did not lead to happiness or something like that. And I'm not saying this is the case,
No,
but
yeah.
let's entertain the thought. Let's say that was not true. It's an untrue principle. Would there be a way or anything that you could experience that you could discover this?
That's an untrue principle?
No. What I'm saying is, like, I'm trying to think of how to ask it. I don't even set the timer. Sorry. If humility really didn't bring you the optimum level of happiness, would you have a way to discover that?
Humility. If humility, I guess I still don't understand the question.
So how would you discover that it's not true? Is that what you're asking?
If it wasn't true, we're going to just assume that it wasn't true. How would you be able to discover that?
How would I be able to discover if it's not true?
Yeah.
Same way I can discover if it is true, by trying it out, acting upon it.
Got it. Okay. So, like, if you brought humility on yourself and it just didn't bring happiness, that would be just one way to find out. But your experience is that when you do that, you are happy.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's go back to the original claim. So, if the principle of humility equals happiness is what is true in a book, and even if a book had that principle, everything in the book may not be true. How did you determine that the Book of Mormon was true beyond just that principle?
Yeah, because I've read it, and there are many principles in the book, and I've found that they are all true because I've acted on them. But most importantly, I don't need to worry about my own understanding. I don't need to dig and try and find if these things have actually happened or if they're actually true. But there's a promise in the book that tells us if we ask God, and I know lots of people don't believe in God, but if we ask God, He'll tell us that it's true, and then we can rely on that answer. And the thing that we feel when He tells us that answer, to know that if we have one slice of the cake, so to say, or one principle, then all the rest of the cake or all the other principles are good, contained in the book.
Okay.
It's a true book.
Okay. I'm going to repeat back what you just said and just let me know if I'm not hearing it correctly. You're saying that although the truthfulness of that principle which you've experienced and validated yourself, you can be confident that even though another book can have those principles or a principle and still have untrue events or what have you, for you, you can be you're 100% confident that the Book of Mormon is true because you are able to ask God to basically reveal the rest of it to be true to you. Is that right?
Yeah, reveal if the book is true or not. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So.
We've only got a few more minutes.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry.
So if you were to discover that, and this is another hypothetical, if you were to discover that you reached out to God and He didn't confirm that for you, if that didn't happen, or He said actually not all of it's true, would that be an indicate? Like, would that lead you to be less confident that it's true?
Yeah. If God told me it's not true, then absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So let's say we had someone else here, and they're like of a different. Let's say they can believe maybe like a similar God, and they had another book. It doesn't really matter what book it is, and they said that God spoke to them and told them that their book was true. Would there be a way for us to kind of figure out which one of you is more correct?
You could try, but the only way would be to ask God. That's what I think. The only way to actually know for yourself is to ask God.
Okay.
And try out the principles that it says, too. They could have correct principles in their book, too.
Okay. So, can someone sincerely reach out to God and reach a different conclusion about a different book being true?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Bible.
If someone else can reach out to God sincerely and reach a different conclusion, what does that say about the method you're using to reach truth if it can lead to two different conclusions?
The conclusions are saying the same thing, teaching the same principles. If God's telling you that this is true and the other book is true, I won't really know the answer that they received unless I've received it for myself. But if I've prayed about both books and received the same answer, then I can conclude that they say the same thing. They don't contradict each other or anything like that.
Oh, okay. If someone were to have a completely different book, let's say a hypothetical, like a Hindu guy over here, and he is 100% certain that the gods of Hinduism is true, and they've reached out to him and confirmed to him that they're true. How would we go about determining which one of you is more correct in that instance, if it's like a contradictory book?
Yeah.
Like not even like different translations or something like that. It's like totally different. Would there be a way for like an outsider to see which one of you is more correct?
Yeah. Pray about it.
Okay.
That's the only way.
So if someone prays about whether one is true of the other, that is a reliable method to reach the truth, whatever answer they get?
Yeah.
Okay. So hypothetically, if someone prayed to figure out which book was true, and it came up like actually it's actually Hinduism,
Mm-hmm.
that is a reliable way to come to know something, to be 100% sure.
Yeah, God tells you.
Interesting. If you met someone who said they did that,
Mm-hmm.
what would you think?
I would tell them, I know that this book is true because God's told me. You've had your experience. You can pray and ask God, and what you believe He's told you, that's what you can go with. But I know that this book is true.
Would you think that they were mistaken if they prayed about it and came to the conclusion that something else was true?
If it was contradicting what this says, then I would disagree.
Even if they prayed to God?
Yeah.
Okay. So, are you saying maybe someone praying to a God may not be a reliable way to come to truth?
I think they may not have prayed for the right reasons. They may have not actually received an answer. They may have had their own feelings confused.
Okay. So, if someone can pray sincerely, but not get an answer and get their feelings confused, how did you determine that didn't happen to you?
Because I know that the feelings that I felt did not come from me. They came from another source.
Okay.
And the only way to know that for any outside party, rather than me telling you, because me telling you is not enough for you to know it, as for you to have that experience on your own.
Okay. Do you think feelings is a reliable way to come to truth?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that in your life that you use this method? So, like, for example, we got a box of Tic Tacs. Would you agree that it's either even amount of whole Tic Tacs or an odd amount of Tic Tacs?
Yeah.
And it can't be like even. It can't be both.
Right.
So even or odd. If I were to just tell you that I have a strong feeling that is equal, would that be a reliable way to know that it's equal? I'm sorry, that it's even. Would that be a reliable way to know that it's even?
If you said that you had that strong feeling?
Yeah.
I would have to try myself. See if I had that strong feeling.
Okay. So, if you had a strong feeling that it was odd, let's say, for you that would be a reliable way to know that it's odd?
If I prayed about it. If that feeling comes from myself, then no. If it comes from God, then yes. So it's all based on
Do you think that you could pray about how much is in here and then be correct about it?
Yeah, but I think that's information that I couldn't really do anything with, and I think God wants to put information into me that I can take and change myself with, because I can't really change myself with how many Tic Tacs are in that box.
I guess the information would be that we could test whether this method of praying and feeling an answer is reliable in other applications. So if you prayed to see which one it is, if it's even or odd, and we were able to open it up, pour it all out, and count it up, and we can verify whether that what your answer was, your feeling was correct or not. Let's say you did do that. You had a strong feeling, that same feeling that you get that the book is true, that it's odd, and let's say we popped it open and poured it all out, and it was odd. Would that be confirmation that your method to coming to knowledge is reliable?
I wouldn't rely on that experience to anchor my whole beliefs. I would still.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the belief. I'm talking about the method you
Right.
use to reach that conclusion. So if we were, if praying about something and feeling it is a reliable way to know something to 100% certainty, you know it based off of that feeling. Can that method be applied to know something like whether the Tic Tacs are even or odd? Like, is that a method we could use to be highly like 100% we know what it is without opening it?
I suppose you could. It would just take a lot of faith to know the answer to that question. But I think the only real answers you can receive to prayers is something that just is applicable to my life and my eternal happiness.
Okay. Are you saying that method doesn't really work with this situation, but it works more for your, like...
I would say no, because that doesn't.
Okay. What is it about this example?
Unless it applied to my eternal happiness.
Okay. Oh, okay. Just correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The more important something is to you, the more that method of feeling is a true way to figure something out?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got to wrap it up.
Okay. Got it.
If that's all right.
Yeah, sure. All right. Last question, and you don't necessarily have to answer.
Okay.
Last question is, let's assume that you were wrong, that the Book of Mormon was not true, and something else is true, or whatever. How would you go about discovering it? We're assuming that it's not true.
Uh-huh.
Would there be a way for you to discover that?
If I didn't already know, just discover that.
Let's say you woke up tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
and you did a bunch of research and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And you, for whatever reason, came to the conclusion that the Book of Mormon actually is not entirely true. There's one thing or 10 things that actually aren't true in there. If we just assumed that there was those things, would there be a way for you to actually discover that?
Actually discover that
Like,
it's not true.
Yeah, if the book was not true, would you be able to figure that out?
Yeah.
What would you accept as like something that if you read it would conclude that it was? Yeah.
A prayer, same way. Nothing that anybody else says or any research that I can do can tell me if this book is true or not, except what God tells me, the source from where it all comes in the first place.
The feelings.
Hmm?
Gotcha.
The feelings that God gives me, not that I give myself or that somebody else gives me. The feelings that God gives me, if it's true or not.
Okay. But
So-
we can't necessarily determine if someone else's feelings is so like someone else could have feelings like that and reach a different conclusion.
I think God will give everybody the same feelings, and I know that God will tell people that the Book of Mormon is true, and I know that He will give them the same feelings because He's straightforward. He's not confusing, but that's a bold claim, and the only way that other people can know that is by trying it for themselves.
Okay.
And that's all there is to it, I think.
Okay.
That everybody's got to try it for themselves.
Okay. Cool.
So,
All right, guys.
thank you.
Did you guys like it?
Yeah.
Was it interesting?
I think you're really good at that.
All right. Cool.
How long have you been doing this?
About a year and a half.
I don't know.
So why do you do it?
Let's see. I guess if I had motives, it would be for more people to adopt reliable means of reaching truth. So if I could help someone discover that the way they were coming to a belief or a claim or something like that was not very reliable, if I could help them discover that, and they could maybe find other more reliable methods, I feel like I did,
Cool. Yeah,
something.
that is cool.
Yeah.
Helping people find truth.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
I think, for me, it's like I want to believe as many true things and as few as false things as possible. And so it's not so much important about the conclusion we have. It's how we came to that conclusion, I would say.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right, guys.
Do you have a card from us?
From you?
Yeah.
No.
Can I give you one?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. We can exchange cards just like last time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all guys want one, maybe. Well, I got enough. Yeah, you guys can check that out. So my YouTube channel is just titled Deep Discussions. I don't know if you lost it or not. And then if you ever want to reach out to me, there's my email.
All right.
So a lot of times people reach out to me and they kind of like thought about it more, and they found they are more confident based off the conversation we had, or less confident, or whatever. They just continue to chat.
Cool.
Cool.
There you go.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
Mormon.org.
What was it? Is it on here?
Yeah, it's
It
on
is.
the bottom.
Cool.
You can order a free Book of Mormon with that number too. So
Cool.
it was good to meet you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take it easy, man.
You too.